Alright guys, so if we have best cookies inside of Cookie Run Kingdom, then there's obviously going to be the worst cookies, or cookies that you honestly should not be investing in and wasting your precious resources like your EXP star jellies as well as your skill powders. So in this video I want to talk about a couple of them that you honestly should stay away from. If you guys want to, go over all of them, all right, I kind of generally go over them within the tier list. I don't go over them in detail anymore because of the fact that it's been the same for a very long time. But if you guys still want to look at a general list of all the cookies that I personally think you should stay away from, then go ahead and watch the tier list. But in this video I want to talk about the ones that I specifically think that you should stay away from completely, because they are almost useless inside of the game. I don't know why they released them. They haven't been good. And these ones, I don't know if they're going to be coming back into the game or not anytime soon. Alright, so starting off is going to be no other than Fig Cookie right in front of the screen right now since the beginning. And Fig, here's the thing. Fig was or could have been used when they were released. However, very quickly we found out that Fig Cookie is just not usable at all. The reason why is because a lot of these older cookies don't have any particular skill that allows them to have this quote-unquote resistant to interrupting effects. So they are very simple. The skills are very simple compared to the ones that we have now currently, and also the effects that they do are very small as well. Single hit damage is 396%, which is not a lot compared to the attack stat that Fig has, and also the attack reduction by 25% for 7 seconds was not great. It could have easily been negated at the time with Pomegranate, and just that attack reduction was just not enough to justify the fact that you had to replace one cookie for Fig Cookie. Alright, so Fig is one of the worst, and honestly has been the worst since the day of release, in my opinion. I can't believe I spent money to pull this cookie back in the days to do that event gacha. Normally event gacha cookies were not that great. Alright, so Fig is definitely one of them right now. And then another one is a recently released cookie, and that is gonna be no other than Olive. So here's the thing about Olive. Olive has a very unique skill of being able to do zap, have earth type attack as well as fire type attack, and able to put this specific debuff where all types of damage are going to be increased or amplified by a certain percentage. However, this is just not great. The reason why the Olive Cookie was just not used at all and is just almost impossible to use is because their skill, alright, Olive's skill is just pure RNG. So you can't like lock in the skill at all. So the reason why Prophet was used and was meta for couple seasons with the Frost Comp in the arena was because of the fact that Prophet, although the skill was random, we had like 6 different skills to use or could have been used, there is a way to lock in a specific skill by the amount of crit percentage that Prophet had. However, with Olive, it's impossible. So there's just no way for you to actually use an earth type skill whenever you want the earth type skill, or to use a fire type skill whenever you want the fire type skill. So it's almost impossible for that to happen. Olive Cookie also doesn't have a quote-unquote 15-second cooldown. You do need to wait until the bat and the animation ends. So it's just not worth using Olive, and it was just better to use someone like Rebel, who actually came out relatively quickly afterwards, who just did way better than Olive. Like, you have extra damage, you have the decoys as well, you have defense reduction, you have all type damage vulnerability that is gonna be 60%, which is way better than Olive's. And then you have just extra things that happen with Rebel Cookie that Olive just doesn't have, and that's the reason why Olive is just not useful. And you should definitely stay away from Olive. I think Olive is one of the worst cookies that they have released by far. just because of the pure RNG factor inside of Olive. And that same goes for Candy Diver as well, actually. So I know people ask in some of my tier lists in the comment section, HyRool, why do you put Candy Diver as such a low tier? And the main reason why is because first, Candy Diver does not do anything with the regular attack except for the defense reduction. It's not bad. It's a 15%, but it's just not really worth the defense reduction. And for you to have a cookie who does that and not do healing, not do anything other than that. Although Candy Diver does increase the attack damage that some of the enemies take, you know, it's just not really worth having a cookie who's going to be, again, kind of relied on RNG factor in order to use a successful skill. And also, even the successful skill, right, it's just like it's randomized. Like, you don't know whether a statue is going to come out, or you don't know if a sword going to come out, or you don't know if an anchor is going to come out. And yes, the healing is there and other, you know, bumps are there, but it's just like, you just don't know, right? Whether you're going to be getting those things and then you're going to be able to get a successful, you know, the treasure find, and then you're going to be able to get that extra buff of the 15% amplify. You have the healing, you know, and then the extra healing, and then the attack. It's just like, you just don't know. And that's the reason why, if you're gonna have a safeguard, although Candy Diver does not take damage, Snapdragon, all right, who just has a straightforward skill of healing, of getting that attack buff, getting that stun resistant, getting that damage resist, getting that shield, is just far better than having someone like Candy Diver, who again is relied on RNG. And then, like, you have to have amplified buff. Like, back then, even now, like, amplified buff is, you know, it's cool, but if you're gonna rely the entire topping on amplified buff and you have like very little cooldown and such, it's hard to use a cookie like this with the 15-second cooldown to become useful. So that's the reason why Candy Diver is one of the worst ones too, in my opinion. Just you stay away from. Like, Safeguard, you can't have multiple of them either, so it's like you have Snapdragon, there's just no reason for you to use Candy Diver. All right, so we have Olive, we have Candy Diver, as well as Fig, and the rest of them, you know, they can be used. There are going to be pretty bad ones here and there too, that you personally, I personally think that you kind of should not be leveling them up. But like other ones, like, you have a chance of like getting some sort of comeback here and there, depending on whether they get a magic candy or not. Of course, the other cookies too, that works out too, but like it's just probably not going to be worth it. And then from the super epic sections as well, I'll make a whole different separate video about this, but right now the two of the worst ones, I think, if not actually I would say worst one starting off, is gonna be Clotted Cream. The reason why I say Clotted Cream, I know some people may argue that Oyster is probably the worst, but the thing is, in comparison of their value, Oyster has a ability to increase the crit percentage and crit damage of your team, and with the biscuits now, it's just easier to get cooldowns as well. So I think Oyster is just better than Clotted Cream. Yes, Clotted Cream is able to do a little bit of damage. Damage is actually really small too, to be honest. And then you're able to do the Light Cage, but the Light Cage is not to the cookie with the highest attack, but with the cookie who's the closest, right, in the front. So it's random too, or it's mainly the tanks, which means that, you know, nowadays it's just not going to be very effective. So I think right now the worst one is Clotted Cream, and then Stardust, you know, Capsaicin, Sherbet, Shining Glitter, and Crimson Coral. They're all used somewhere else. Of course, Crimson Coral is the best out of all of them, but and then you know, out of the legendaries right now, they're all usable in my opinion. They're not like bad or anything like that. I think Seafair is by far the most expensive and the least used for how expensive she is to actually make her viable. And then Moonlight is probably the weakest right now, just because of the fact that she just doesn't have a crystal gem compared to the other three legendaries. And then from Dragon, we only have Pattaya. But from the Ancient, by far right now the worst one is Dark Cacao. And I am waiting. I'm waiting for Dark Account to receive a Crystal Gem or an Ancient, Soul Gem or something like that. That they'll call it, to actually buff up Dark Account somehow, because Golden Cheese and White Lily, they came out relatively very good for the meta. Like, they are future proof in some sense. They're very unique. They do a lot of damage. They're DPSs. If DPSs come out well, it's hard to replace them. However, Hollow and Pure Vanilla, although they came out way earlier, they received a buff to make them adjust to how they are currently right now inside of the meta. However, Dark Account just was very good because he was very unique at the time, with all the debuffs and all the damage that he was able to do with the zap, injury, and everything. However, now it's just having multiple of a lot of different things and doing minimum of each of them is just not great. And Dark Account definitely needs a buff if he wants to come back into the meta somehow in some way. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share. The 3 epic cookies I think you should just definitely stay away from right now. Candy Diver, Olive, as well as our Fig. Now Fig just purely just because of stats and CO. The 2 of the other cookies are very RNG factored. Everyone else is usable in some way, some form. If you really don't want to use them, of course you can use the other ones as well, but you just don't know what you're getting, right? And then out of these super epics, Clouded Cream, Oyster, if not, I would say Clouded Cream is the worst. And then lastly, it's gonna be Dark Account. So hopefully Dark Account gets something real quickly. In my opinion, I think Dark Account needs something. It's just harder to release something for Dark Account just because of the fact that we had 2 Ancients released recently. So maybe during when a Beast raid comes out for Shadow Milk or something like that, we might receive something for Dark Account, or we might just have to wait until Dark Account's Beast, the counterpart, comes out into the game, or introduced into the game. But let me know down in the comments below which one you guys personally think are the worst cookies, and yeah, let's discuss about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys all on the next one.